Cozy Heart, a My Little Pony fanfic by StarThief. Chapter 7, Incognito Outing. The sun began to peek over the horizon, birds trading sleepy chirps for bright morning songs. Canterlot streets slowly filled with early rising workers. In the castle kitchens, breakfast prep kicked into gear. Out in the gardens, critters poked noses out of burrows and nests. A slim beam of sunlight slipped through an open window into Flurry's room and landed across the bed where Cozy and Flurry lay. Flurry had finally crashed in the small hours, worn out from the excitement over Cozy's new look and milestone. Cozy, though she'd eventually dozed off, had woken very early, morning dark, sun still hidden. Since she hadn't read the book Flurry gave her the night before, she'd just skim a few pages, which quickly turned into getting hooked and reading the whole thing. She'd used Flurry's desk lamp, angled so it wouldn't shine on Flurry, and flicked it off when dawn's light arrived. MGH. Flurry let out a tiny groan as sunlight touched her face. Cozy snapped the book shut and set it on the nightstand, cheeks warming like she'd been caught. But Flurry only rolled over and kept sleeping. Cozy exhaled softly, then glanced at the mirror Flurry had floated over last night so Cozy could see herself after the age spell. A small smile crept onto Cozy's face. Teenage pony now, tail longer too. She looked back at Flurry and noticed the alicorn smiling faintly in her sleep. Some nice dream, probably. Seeing that, Cozy's own smile deepened. She flushed, shook her head, and slipped carefully out of bed so as not to wake her. She padded to the mirror and studied her reflection again. She's made me like her. I have to admit she's very kind, Cozy thought. Then she shoved the warmth down, reminding herself of her plan. Keep the nice act up until the perfect moment and strike. No hurry. She didn't know how yet, but she was sure the chance would come. Cozy. Ah! Cozy yelped, wings flaring as she bobbed off the floor. How long have you been up? Flurry asked, rubbing her eyes with her hooves. And not long. Just a few minutes. Cozy lied. She'd been up over an hour. Flurry nodded, stood, wobbly with sleep, and tottered over to her. She smiled, setting her hooves lightly at Cozy's sides. I'm really happy for you. If this keeps up, maybe Auntie will remove the tether spell someday. I'm proud of you. She smiled again, then reached for the doorknob. Cozy lingered on those last words. Proud of you. That stirred something. Is Flurry really proud of me? The words landed harder than she expected. Cozy. Yes? Cozy turned. I was going to take a shower but, we can't be apart, Flurry said, flushing. Do you mind? Oh. Sure, Cozy said, smiling a little, and joined her. When Flurry opened the door, 2 guards stood there as usual. They greeted Flurry, but not Cozy. Both, however, did a visible double-take at Cozy's older appearance. Neither commented, but it was hard for them to stop staring. Cozy blushed, uncomfortable, and said nothing, walking beside Flurry until they reached the nearest bath. Cozy sat by the door with a small sigh. I was planning the same. You go first. I'll wait here, and when you're done I'll take my turn, Cozy said matter-of-factly. Sounds good. But we have to figure out how to get rid of this tether. Doing everything like this will get old fast. Let's make that our next goal, okay? Flurry smiled and headed in. Cozy sat on the orphanage steps, humming as she tied her hair ribbons. Done. She rose and fluttered to the door, grabbed the knob, and pulled it open. I'm ready. The little Pegasus chirped as she stepped out. A blue-coated Pegasus smiled gently and nodded. Be very careful out there. Okay, girls? Said an adult Pegasus walking over. We will, Miss Shine, the blue filly replied. Good. It's sweet of you to volunteer to help bring winter to Ponyville. If you need anything, Fine, Miss Dream. All right? Both nodded brightly, though Cozy's eyes dropped at the end. She was nervous around Dream, Shine's sister. They rub each other the wrong way and Cozy never understood why. Ready at last, the pair moved to the cloud's edge and left, gliding toward Ponyville. Cloudsdale was already lowering winter to the area, so the city was passing right by. Hey Cozy! Race you! The blue Pegasus shouted. Wait, Little Star! Cozy called, but Little Star had already shot ahead. Cozy had no choice but to accept the challenge and speed up. They weaved around clouds until Ponyville came into view below, ponies gathering on the ground to plan the earthbound part of winter wrap-up so Pegasi could do their work from above. I won! Little Star crowed. No way! I won! Cozy laughed as they landed carefully. They trotted off to find the rest of their orphanage team, spotting them by the fountain near Miss Dream. Kids, settle down, said the sky blue Pegasus, Sugar Dream. Once every pony, including Cozy and Little Star, had gathered, she gave instructions. All right, half of us are going to help move the small critters to their nests and burrows for hibernation. Be very careful, okay? The other half will help haul snow clouds. Those are preloaded, so no fooling around. I don't want a blizzard ahead of schedule. Miss Dream, will we see the Princess of Friendship? A tiny filly squeaked. Easy, easy. She might be busy helping, too, Dream replied. Okay, pair up. Once you're in pairs, I'll divide you into the two groups. Little Star grabbed Cozy's hoof, then turned it into a hug, which Cozy returned, delighted. I've got mine, Little Star announced. Miss Dream glanced over and nodded, at first with a faint smile, but when she saw the hug, the smile faded. She sighed and walked over. All right, she said, fixing her gaze on Cozy. Be careful, Glow. I don't want any trouble. Clear? Why yes, Miss Dream, Cozy murmured, head dipping. Don't worry. I'll look after her. Little Star chimed. Good. I'm counting on that. Dream turned back to organize the pairs. Cozy came out of the bath and found Flurry staring out a hallway window, fully absorbed in the view of the city, so much so she hadn't heard the door or noticed Cozy. Cozy watched her for a few seconds, then stepped up beside her to look out too. Flurry noticed at last. She smiled but kept her eyes on Canterlot. Looks like a lovely day, doesn't it? Flurry said. Why yeah. It does. Well, who knows what Auntie has planned for today's punishment? Hee. Come on, let's get breakfast. They're probably waiting. Cozy nodded and walked with her through the corridors, the bathroom door guards falling in behind them again. Cozy clocked it immediately and lowered her head. It was still hard to ignore being shadowed everywhere. She said nothing, and they continued until they reached the dining hall. The door swung open and the head chef came out with two ponies. She smiled kindly at them as if the kitchen incident had never happened. Cozy and Flurry managed nervous smiles back, then stepped in, where Twilight and Spike were already seated. Good morning, Auntie, Flurry said. Good morning, Cozy added, and both sat, though not before Cozy noticed Twilight watching her closely. It set Cozy on edge. She tried to ignore it and start eating, but then Twilight spoke. Cozy, how do you feel now? Twilight asked, eyes still on her. Cozy flinched and finally met the princess's gaze. I feel fine. Why yeah, hee. Fantastic. You earned that age spell. I'll admit you were a hard sell, but I've seen real progress. There's still a long way to go, both of you. Really, but I'm happy you're good friends, Twilight said, offering Cozy a warm smile. Cozy blushed, nodded, and looked to Flurry. Flurry was smiling too, but Flurry's smile didn't make her nervous anymore. It settled her. She chose to eat instead of talk. Twilight then turned to Flurry. All right. I've decided today's punishment. Young lady. Knew it was coming, Flurry said, smiling wryly. I considered assigning garden duty. They're cleaning the back gardens today, but the gardener insisted on doing it alone. So, my second option. Charity work. Best part? No guards. No guards? Cozy blurted, instantly perking up. No guards. Well, two, but they're my escort, not yours. Because I'll be with you. I need to attend an event at a Canterlot orphanage. They just finished some renovations, and if I'm going, I thought it would be good if you came too. You'll help the staff while I'm with the foals and the press. So don't worry, no pony will really see you. That said, just in case, Cozy will need clothes to cover her mane and cutie mark. You may be older now, but I'm afraid there are still ponies who might recognize you, Twilight said, glancing between them. Fair enough. And anything's lighter duty than the castle kitchen, Flurry said, then looked at Cozy, who had gone a bit glassy-eyed. You okay? Why yeah. It's been a long time since I was in an orphanage, you know? Ha! And even undercover, I'm scared some pony will recognize me and... Easy, Twilight said gently, meeting Cozy's eyes. We're taking a small risk, too. That's why you'll be working behind the scenes, setting tables, moving furniture, serving food, etc. You won't be on camera like me. As long as you're calm, nothing bad will happen. Cozy swallowed and nodded, then went back to eating. But the what-if started racing, anxiety boiling up until she felt Flurry's hoof on her back. She looked over. Flurry wore her usual, soft smile. It's going to be okay, Flurry said. Cozy took a breath, nodded, and ate more calmly. When they were done, the door opened and in walked a white unicorn stallion with a well-kept blue mane, small spectacles, a neatly trimmed beard, a black suit and an easy, confident smile. Fancy pants. He approached the girls and looked them over. Aye. Cozy's nerves spiked. She had no idea how he'd react to her. But instead of drama or rejection, he finished his once-over, smiled, and turned to Twilight. I accept the challenge. Truly simple. A well-combed mane, a dress, glasses, and trade those dreadful ribbons for a hat. That, plus inconspicuous behavior. And no pony will give this Pegasus a second look, Fancy said. Glad to hear it, Twilight replied. Flurry and Cozy exchanged baffled looks. Especially Cozy, who'd braced for the worst. Sir, do you by chance KN? Of course I know who she is. Dear Princess, Fancy cut in. My committee and I have served Equestria's crown for many years, even Princess Celestia and Princess Luna. Over those years I've kept many secrets. Are you familiar with the S.M.I.L.E. Foundation? The what now? Cozy asked. Exactly. No pony knows, and I'm afraid I'll say no more, so it stays that way. Any secret Princess Twilight entrusts to me will be perfectly safe in my hooves, Fancy said, pleased. So, dear Pegasus, have no fear. No pony in Canterlot will know it's you, especially after I give you a look. What's wrong with my look? Cozy frowned. Nothing at all, not exactly royal, of course, but it does express who you are. That's admirable on its own. Unfortunately, for today's agenda we need a few small tweaks, nothing drastic, the unicorn said. Cozy glanced at Twilight. Twilight nodded. Cozy sighed and nodded too. Fine. But you're not cutting 1 centimeter off my mane or tail. Relax. Just some styling and a few lovely outfits suitable for hard work. Now then. Follow me, Fancy said, heading out. Cozy and Flurry looked at each other, nodded, and trailed the unicorn. Soon enough, Twilight, Flurry, and Cozy were rolling through Canterlot in a carriage bound for the orphanage. Twilight was serene. Flurry was her usual excited self. Cozy, meanwhile, stared out the window, nerves jangling. Fancy's disguise was in place. A slightly long dress to hide her cutie mark. Her mane freed from its ribbon and swept left in a looser style. A deep blue dress with a wine-red sash and a rose-like ornament. "We're here. Promise me you won't get into trouble. I expect hard work from both of you, okay?" Twilight said. "You got it, Auntie," Flurry said, smiling, and watched Twilight step out, press shutters clicking. It wasn't a sea of press like the Grand Galloping Gala, Flurry mused, just a manageable cluster. "Ready, Cozy?" Flurry asked, turning to her companion, who was trembling. Flurry took her hoof. "Easy. We'll get out together and do this together. We survived the chef and my aunt. We can handle one afternoon of work." Cozy gulped and nodded, then stood and stepped down with Flurry, still holding hooves. A few cameras flashed at them, but attention quickly pivoted back to Princess Twilight, the event star and funder. "See? Nothing. Let's move," Flurry said, smiling. Cozy nodded, walking beside her, still holding on, without realizing it. Being in public after so long twisted her stomach. And walking out with Flurry and Twilight felt risky reputation-wise. But Fancy's work seemed to be doing its job. No pony was paying them much mind. She relaxed a little as they joined Twilight at the steps. "Good morning, my dear ponies," Twilight said. "Today we inaugurate the renovations to the New Hope Orphanage, hoping what we've done here will improve daily life for the colts and fillies who live here. It's a great pleasure to help bring smiles and support to those who need it most." She posed with the orphanage matron for a photo, then levitated comically large scissors and snipped the ribbon. "Princess Flurry Heart, over here," a photographer called. Being the princess of the Crystal Empire and the princess of Friendship's niece did draw a little extra attention. "Oh, sure, he," Flurry said, standing a bit straighter, still holding Cozy's hoof. I should move. They asked you for a fot." "Who's your companion?" the reporter asked. Cozy swallowed hard, ducking her head and backing up a step. "Oh, her? She's my friend. She's visiting Canterlot, same as me for the holidays. We hadn't seen each other in ages. Nice reunion, he," Flurry said, smiling a touch stiffly. Twilight, thankfully, swooped in, folding a wing across Flurry's back. "All right, we've got a schedule to keep. Thanks for coming, every pony," she said kindly, guiding both girls inside. Thanks, Auntie." "I didn't know what else to say," Flurry murmured. "Why yeah. I would have died if they'd asked me to talk," Cozy said, still a little shaky. Twilight chuckled and nodded. "I figured. Your story wasn't bad. Still, let's keep you two as invisible as possible, okay? The folks you're helping are waiting in the main hall. I'm off to meet the foals. I brought some stories and toys they might like." She gave Flurry a warm hug. "Good luck, dear." Cozy and Flurry headed where Twilight indicated, taking in the decor, simple, rustic, and sweet. In the central hall they found two staffers just finishing with a sofa. When they noticed the girls, both caretakers approached with warm smiles. "Princess of the Crystal Empire, what an honor to have you. When Princess Twilight said you'd join her, we were thrilled. It means so much to us and to the children," said the unicorn caretaker. "Yes, it's wonderful to have you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts," said the Earth Pony. Flurry smiled kindly and nodded. "The honor is mine. I love helping however I can. Just tell us what you need and we'll do it." "Oh, and we see you've brought a very lovely friend," the unicorn added. "You Why yeah, he," Cozy said, edging a little closer to Flurry. "What's your name, young lady?" the unicorn asked. Flurry and Cozy traded a panicked look. They'd planned for many scenarios, but somehow had not agreed on a fake name. They couldn't exactly introduce her as Cozy Glow. For a beat, both froze until Cozy swallowed and blurted, "S. Sugar Cream. That's my name," she said with a smile. "Oh, how sweet," both caretakers said. Offering a hoof shake, Cozy took it. They exhaled in relief and refocused. "Please, follow us. First we need to arrange a few dorm furnishings. The beds are in, but there are still pieces waiting to be placed," the stallion said. "Count on us," Flurry replied. The caretakers led them upstairs to the first dorm. They gave quick instructions, thankfully not much. A couple of drawer chests and 2 study tables for the far wall under the windows. Renovation crews had done most of the heavy lifting yesterday. "I can handle the tables if you like. They look heavier," Cozy said. He. Day 1 in the kitchen you stuck me with the hardest job and now you want to take it yourself. Your mindset really is changing." "That's good," Flurry said, smiling as she walked to the tables. "But I have to refuse." "Let's do it together, okay?" Cozy blushed and nodded, grabbing one end of the first table while hovering. "Will they do homework here or play? I'm pretty sure I saw a big cafeteria on the way in, so I doubt they eat in the dorms. Probably that first one." "How was it in yours?" Flurry asked. "Well, smaller than this place and grayer. Not that it mattered. We always had the best views being on a cloud," Cozy said, a touch of nostalgia in her smile. "I see," Flurry said and smiled too when she saw Cozy's. "All right, here we go." Her horn lit and lifted some of the weight. Together they set the first table in place, then repeated with the second. Cozy Glow. Miss Dream stormed toward the Pegasus filly. I. "Nothing out of you. I told you I didn't want trouble. It was an accident." Cozy's eyes filled. "Don't start crying again. Miss Dream. Cozy didn't do anything. I told her we should race to the snow clouds. She couldn't stop in time and that's why the clue." "Don't defend her, little star. Ugh. Stay here. Do nothing. I'm taking this brat home, let Shine deal with her," Dream snapped, grabbing Cozy by the ear and dragging her away. "Nice one, Cozy." He. A pair of Pegasi snickered as she was hauled off. "That's the last one here. I thought it'd be way more tiring." He, Flurry said, then noticed Cozy staring at a small bumblebee plush perched on a nightstand by a bunk. "Everything all right?" "Ha? Oh. Yeah. I just remembered something silly." He. "Let's go to the next dorm." That was the last. The caretakers said to meet them in the cafeteria to help plate meals before Auntie and the others arrive. Flurry said, pleased at how quickly everything went with Cozy's help. Cozy nodded and headed for the door, then paused, glancing back as Flurry came alongside. "This place is sweet. I guess the foals live pretty well here," Cozy said. "I suppose so. Still makes me a little sad," Flurry replied, then looked at Cozy. "Are you sure you want to keep going? This must be hard for you. You know. You're." "Nah. Told you, stuff like that doesn't matter to me. I left that place, went to the school of friendship, you know the rest," Cozy said. Flurry took Cozy's hoof and stepped closer. Cozy flushed. "I don't know everything about your past. But I'm glad I get to be part of your present. You've got a second chance, and I'm happy to help with that." "You're my friend," Flurry said, holding Cozy's hoof and meeting her eyes. "What I mean is, you can count on me, okay? Friends show up for the good and the bad. Whenever you need something, I'll be there." Cozy said nothing, just looked at her and smiled faintly. "I don't know what factory you came from, Heart. But I'm impressed by how much sunshine you've got in you. Anyway, That's the good thing about my present. It's you. She quickly looked away, opened the door, and stepped out. Flurry smiled and followed. Cozy kept her eyes down to hide a smile, a mix of excitement and nerves, a little blush, a little sparkle. She shook her head, reasserted her original plan, straightened up, and walked on. Halfway down the hall, though, she stopped, ears angling toward the stairwell to the third floor. Was that something wrong? Flurry asked. Shoo, Cozy said, moving toward the stairs. There it was, soft sobs. Cozy rounded the steps and found a small unicorn curled behind them, red-eyed and sniffling. Hey, Cozy said. The filly startled and looked up. You okay? Cozy asked, voice a notch more serious. The unicorn shook her head and dropped her gaze again, eyes welling. Cozy sat beside her. Did some pony do something to you? The others? They tore up my drawing for Princess Twilight. They said she'd never want to meet a unicorn as bad at magic as me. The filly whispered. What's your name? Cozy asked. Aurora. Well, Aurora. Those brats have hay for brains, Cozy said, resting a hoof lightly on Aurora's head and folding a wing around her. Flurry watched, unsure whether to intrude, then smiled softly at Cozy's gentleness and stepped closer. Oh, and look at that, Aurora. It's the princess of the Crystal Empire, Cozy said. Aurora jumped and looked up, sure enough, Flurry Heart. She quickly wiped her face and faced Flurry again. Hi there. Why aren't you with the other kids? Princess Twilight said she wants to spend time with every pony, Flurry said. It's just, the others said. Oh, come on. They don't know what they're talking about. Come on, we'll take you to the princess, Cozy said, rising to stand beside Flurry. Aurora smiled a little and trotted between them as they guided her to the library. Flurry remembered hearing about story time and guessed correctly. Twilight sat reading, foals all around, rapt as she told the story of Krogar's defeat. Sorry to interrupt, Princess, Cozy said. Twilight looked up at the trio. Sugar cream. She needs to learn my name. Hee hee. Anyway, we found a little filly who wants to hear the story too, Cozy said, cheeks a touch pink. Flurry watched, heart full. Seeing Cozy act with such unforced kindness made her glow. Twilight blinked, then nodded and looked between Flurry and Cozy. You two should be helping the staff. What were you doing with her? I couldn't ignore the crying. Apparently some ahem. Brats tore up her drawing and told her not to come, Cozy said, cool and blunt. In the circle of foals, a knot of unicorns ducked their heads and tried to shuffle out of sight. Twilight noticed, but let it go for now. She stood and came to Aurora. Well now, let me tell you something, little one. There will be ponies who can't see your magic inside. But that mustn't knock us down. Okay? Twilight said. Aurora beamed, the princess of friendship talking to her. She nodded and stepped back to find a spot, but Twilight stopped her. No. I want you to read with me, come on, Twilight said, smiling. Flurry, cream. You can get back to your duties. Flurry and Cozy nodded, smiling, and headed for the cafeteria. On the way, Flurry couldn't help herself. That was lovely. You. Oh, we just couldn't leave her there. Come on. Heart dining service is probably already started and we're wasting time, Cozy said, cheeks pinking as she sped up. Flurry giggled and hurried after her. By late afternoon, the event wound down. Twilight exited the orphanage with poise and an easy wave and made for the carriage. Cozy and Flurry followed, completely spent. The tasks had ramped up and up until they were single-hoofly reorganizing an entire storage room. They flopped into their seats with matching sighs. Hee hee. Have fun? Twilight asked. You have no idea, Auntie, Flurry said. My hind hooves are barking, Cozy groaned. Applejack said that once and they actually barked. Hee hee. Anyway, homeward. I'm very proud of you both, not just for the work, but for what you did for that little unicorn. She was a sweetheart and absolute delight. She gave me a lovely drawing. What you did was completely noble. Well done, both of you, Twilight said. Thanks, Auntie. But Cozy's the one who heard her crying. Without that, I might not have noticed. Cozy went to her first. I only followed. She deserves the CRE. Flurry stopped as a weight settled onto her shoulder. Cozy, out cold, drifting into sleep against her. Flurry blushed. Then smiled. All right. Let her rest for now. When she's more awake, I'll tell her how proud I am. Yeah, Flurry said softly, looking down at Cozy. Cozy sat alone in the orphanage dining room, crying. Melted snow dripped from her, soaking into her coat. A blanket fell across her back. She looked up. Miss Shine stood there, smiling gently. A mug of hot cocoa appeared on the table, clearly for Cozy. Why does Miss Dream hate me? Cozy sniffed. She just has a hard edge. Don't dwell on it, okay? I know how much you love winter. Cozy, I'm sorry you couldn't help with it this time. But I brought you cocoa. Drink it now, it has marshmallows. Hee hee, Miss Shine said. Cozy sniffled and took a careful sip. It's really good, Miss Shine. Thank you. The Pegasus smiled and stroked Cozy's mane. You're a good filly, Cozy. Don't let any pony make you forget that. Okay?